Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Shea Station podcast. It is episode 108. It's Friday, October 14th, and it is the Shea Station 2022 season award show. Jerry gave me a goofy look. Were you unsure of today's date, Jerry?
Because on the email from our audio jack, it's 109.
Is it really? I might have to check. Hang on.
I think I checked the YouTube channel.
Am I wrong? I don't. Oh, I am wrong. It's episode 109. I'm a fraud. We're keeping this in. People
All
need to
right,
know.
that's
I'm not
fine.
perfect, all right? I make mistakes sometimes.
It's true. You're human.
I am human, and we
Despite what you may believe out there, Jolly does make mistakes.
I am not a robot. I'm all normal. Guys, we have a really fun show for you today. It is our first official award show. We are going to go through the PPP over-unders from way back in March in Arizona. We're going to go over the Apple Awards for this year, who won the most apples, and I highlighted everything. I sifted through all the old episodes of Shea Station to figure out who got what, and then we have official awards that we are going to give out that have fun nicknames. I won't tell you about them yet because we're going to save them for the second half of the show. It is a loaded show. And one of the sponsors bringing you today's show is Vincero, one of our newest sponsors. If you guys can tell, I am wearing a nice new watch that they sent me. It is excellent brown leather. I'm very happy with it. And guys, fall is in the air, and our friends over at Vincero Collective have sponsored this episode to make sure all of our listeners know that they can accessorize their autumn outfits with premium watches, jewelry, sunglasses, and more. They got top-tier designs to make sure you look class while you save some cash. Love that rhyme. Excellent job by the ad writer. Other premium handcrafted watches have insane markups. So that's where Vincero steps in. You can have the looks of premium lifestyle without breaking the bank. For a limited time only, you can get 20% off and free shipping site-wide with our exclusive code SHEA at VinceroCollective.com. That's VINCERO Collective. They got plenty of fun stuff to choose from. I got this watch, and I definitely think you should get one as well. I thought it came without the battery at first, and then I clicked some buttons and it started working. So that just goes to show the great hardware over at their
Battery
website.
saver.
So go to Vincero Collective now, support our show, and use code SHEA at their website and accessorize your lifestyle at an exceptional price with Vincero. Thank you to them for sponsoring today's episode.
I think Vincero, you gave a shout out to whoever wrote that, their ad writer.
Yeah.
I think they borrowed from Biggie. Isn't that Ashy to Classy?
Oh, is it? Wait, I got to pull that up. Hang on.
So
I think
that's
right
I think that's a Biggie rhyme. So either way, you're borrowing from a legend. So
you know what? Yeah, exactly. It's going to be a legendary show, Jerry. You know, there's a lot.
I'm in, man. I'm excited. So we trying to come up with some creative awards, not just your standard, MVP, Cy Young kind of things. We added some fun ones. We're gonna do our Apple Collective in the middle, and then we're gonna do our over unders, the PPP predictions that we had in spring training. We're gonna carry them over. I'm excited. If there's something that you guys, the listeners, wanted to hear or thought would be a fun award, feel free to hit us up on Twitter or YouTube comments, whatever the case may be. We are a progressive show.
Yes, we are.
And we take input and make some adjustments. So we're all for it.
Yeah, speaking of reaching out to us on Twitter, a lot of people were asking what our off-season schedule looks like. It's going to be kind of fluid until the official postseason ends. We do have an episode next week where we are going to draft the best regular season moments of the year. We're very excited about that. So there is no award for like the best moment of the year or best performance because we're saving all of that for another kind of recap episode. And then from there, it's going to be a lot of off-season free agency targeting, planning lineups and stuff like that. Some interviews we have lined up as well. So there will be plenty of Shea Station on the way. At least one episode a week. You can bank on that for sure.
Yeah, turn on your notifications on whatever your podcast or however you consume Shea Station, and we'll pop up. It'll be consistent throughout the off-season as far as getting content, but we won't have a strict schedule as of yet. We're kind of feeling it out.
Yeah, the Mets might have left you, but we never will, guys. We're always going to be there for you. All right, so I think we'll dive in with these over-unders that we made when we were 7 months younger back in March in Arizona spring training. And we went through kind of a lot of the key players on the team and just, kind of threw out, some interesting stats from what we thought would be kind of difference makers in the 2022 season. There's mostly 2 per important player. There's some one-offs here and some that we actually can't judge yet because for guys like Chris Bassett, we bet on him making top 10 in Cy Young. We obviously don't know yet. We also bet on him having another season in New York. We obviously don't know that either, which is another point in discussion that we'll get to at a later time. But in terms of the over-unders themselves, there's a lot here that we both agreed on, both got wrong, and a few where we differed and one person won out. Do any of them stand out to you significantly, Jerry, or should I just
I haven't looked at them. I'm doing this fresh. I'm excited to go through it. I've been trying to we've been talking about these over-unders, PPPs, because we put a lot of effort into it. In spring training and the whirlwind that is, the John Boy spring training house and fun.
Right.
Our first in-person episodes of recording that, it seems like years ago.
Yeah, it really does. I'm going to tell you.
This will be a fun going back and forth.
Definitely. I'm going to tell you the ones that we both hit on first because I think that deserves, the first shout out. The ones that we agreed
let's go
on.
through all the ones we got right together.
Absolutely,
and then all the ones we got wrong together.
Yeah, so Starling Marte at 128.5 games. We both nailed the under on that. One that I think is really funny is Mark Canha at 13.5.
Wait. We guessed under?
We guessed under on Starling Marte, yeah.
Okay, what did he end up with? 128.5.
He ended up with 118 games on the season.
Okay, well, yeah, we nailed that.
Kind of nailed that. The one that I thought was really funny was Mark Canha at 13.5 hit by pitches. We both kind of cautiously took the over, and he ended up with a new career high at 28. He passed it up by 15.
Yeah.
So we
hit
nailed
that out of the park mark.
We definitely did. One that, is a little upsetting is we bet on James McCann being an above league average hitter. We bet the under on an 100 OPS plus, and James McCann ended up with a 55 OPS plus.
So we nailed that.
We really, really nailed that one.
Yeah.
One that I'm happy about is Tomas Nido at 59.5 games. We both hit the over on that. Tomas Nido was a very important piece of this team this year.
I think that incorporated our lack of belief in James McCann's ability.
Might have been.
And yeah, so that's where we fell. Yep.
Yeah, Nido ended up with 98 games on the year, which is a new career high for him. So good for him. We nailed both of our Taiwan Walker over-unders. One was 124.5 innings pitched. I think he really blew that away.
Yeah, he ended up with 157 and a third. He was the second highest innings total behind Bassett at 181 and 2/3.
He had a really good year now that I'm looking at these numbers.
He sure did.
Taiwan. Another one that we did was his second half ERA, which was kind of the story of last year. We did say it would both be over 4. We were right, but I will say down the stretch, Taiwan was pitching a lot better. His second half ERA lands at 4.8, but I think those last few September starts kind of helped skew that towards a more positive direction.
Yeah, he did fall off a little bit. He had another kind of lull. But overall, I think he was a much better pitcher in the second half than he was in 2021 second half. So
definitely agree there. Oh, one that I incorrectly marked as correct, which was actually wrong, and it's definitely, I think, the closest one that we have, is Eduardo Escobar at 69.5 RBI on the year. We both said over, and he ended up with 69. So we were 0.5.
What an over-under. By the way, that's Vegas-like.
Yeah, I kind of nailed that. Maybe I am a robot, actually. I think I might have been selling myself short a little bit.
That's great.
One that we both nailed on Jeff McNeil, which was a big factor into his lack of success last year, was 9.5 grounding into double plays. He had 10 last year, only 6 this year. So Jeff had a few more clutch at-bats with runners on, which we obviously know by now. He had a great year, and we both took the under there. But that is the end of the ones that we both nailed together. We had quite a few that we split up on, and that's how we got some of the points. And we were competing here. We do have a winner.
Let's go back to all the ones we got wrong.
Yeah, we should do those too. Actually, that's a good idea. Francisco Lindor at 19.5 stolen bases. We both took the under, and we were correct there. I messed that up as well. Come on, guys. I guess I'm not a robot at all. Nailed that one.
You're a robot. You're the worst robot I've ever seen.
Well, they can't see the sheet. They don't know, Jerry.
We both got it right.
We both got it right. We nailed the under there. He ended up with 16. Not bad.
Yeah, I think we did it more because we didn't want him to run as much
Yeah,
because of him being on the field is more important, which is, I mean, 161 games he played at
exactly.
shortstop.
We bet on Edwin Diaz having over 3.5 hit by pitches this year because he was beating guys last year. 9 last year, only 2 this year. And we know Diaz was kind of a control freak, so it makes sense.
I'm disappointed still in that one.
Really? Why?
Yeah, hit some people, dude.
Show some gumption, man. Come on.
Gumption, great word.
Brandon Nemo. This was a shocking one for me. I thought we were going to nail this one on the head. We both bet on him having over a 400 on base percentage, and he was well under that at 367. Still had a good year, though.
Yeah, he had his numbers aren't great offensively. He had a weird kind of season where he changed philosophies for the majority of it. And I think especially those last month and a half, 2 months, I think he really found his sweet spot, which we kind of talked about throughout the season that he was coming into his own. You know, he's a big boy now. He's an adult. He's full on his own person now going into free agency too. I like where he ended up, and I think it was worth it.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't what we were expecting, but it was still effective by the numbers. His career OPS plus is 130 on average, and his OPS plus this year was 130. It was right on that, and he played.
And I think the philosophy that he took and like kind of started to perfect at the end, where he get his walks but still hit for power. I think that'll raise above that OPS. I think he found a nice happy medium.
One that I'm very sad about is that we both took the over on Drew Smith 0.5 saves. He did not get his first career save this year. We're obviously a big Drew Smith pod, but still a good year.
I didn't realize he didn't get a save this year.
Yeah, I don't think he did, unless I messed this one up too.
He dealt with some injuries. I think he also Edwin Diaz was like ever available, so he wouldn't have sat out.
Yeah, 3 saves for Ottavino, 3 saves for Lugo. 1 save for May, 1 save for T-Will, 1 save for Adonis Medina, but no saves for Drew Smith. Tough. And is there anything else? Yes, we did. We both bet on Pete Alonso to win the home run derby. That did not happen. We were there for it, which was tough. We might have been the bad luck charm. Might have been our fault, guys.
I'm not taking the blame for that one.
One that we were way off on, and I mean, who could have really expected it, was Dom Smith at 349.5 plate appearances. We both took the over, and he ended up with 152, nearly 200 below that mark. Tough.
And yeah, I mean, we'll play on this later, but what a black hole the DH position has been all season.
Yes,
pretty wild. What would have been crazy is if we would have. I felt like there was a power hitting left-handed bat out there that we were both really shooting for.
I think he's still playing baseball right now.
With Barber.
It does rhyme with Barber. You're technically right. Yeah, he's still playing baseball right now, so we might have been onto something there, Jerry. We might have just been onto something. So we both were wrong on Dom there, and we both missed on our Jacob deGrom over-unders. We bet on him having at least 16 starts this year. He ended with 11. And this one is.
He only had 11 starts?
He only had 11 starts, man.
Dang.
I know. And this one isn't concrete yet, but I think it's safe to say that Jacob deGrom will not get top 10 in Cy Young, top 10, because he only had 11 starts. So I kind of grade that one out for us as well. Unless, the voters just really like Jacob deGrom, want to throw something in the awards
he didn't have an 11 starts like he did last year.
Exactly. So that's why I think probably a safe bet that he's not going to get those.
Can I just tell you, so he threw 64 and a third innings pitched, right?
Yep.
So he was gone. He only made 11 starts. This is where of starter versus a reliever value comes in. He threw more innings than Edwin Diaz did all season.
That's crazy to think about.
You know what I mean? Edwin Diaz had an unbelievable year. He didn't pitch hardly at all in September.
Right.
But I mean, he threw basically the same amount as Seth Lugo on Ottavino.
Yeah. Just weird to think about that way.
And yeah, you know what I mean? He only threw Trevor Williams, who made 9 starts and was up all season, basically threw 89 and 2/3 innings, and deGrom threw 64 and a third.
Yeah. This is a season where you think we barely got anything out of DeGrom, and it's still far
And
more.
that's why like the value of a starting pitcher is so much more on a grand scale appreciated than a reliever.
And we are going to dive into how much we value that at a later point for sure. Because
Gotcha.
there are some decisions to make for this Mets front office for sure.
Yeah, dude, for real.
And then for the rest of these over-unders, we differed across the board. I'm going to give myself a little shout out because I nailed both of Adam Ottavino's over-unders and kind of had the one up on you there. I had under for 66.5 games and under for 34.5 walks. You took the over, so I got a couple points there. But I believe there was a couple where you absolutely got the nail on the head as well. Cookie Carrasco, you had the over on 21.5.
By the way,
games
Ottavino
started.
threw 66 games. So his over-under was 66 and a half.
Yeah, I think I
You
was.
took the under by you were like, oh, big shout out, like I got it way wrong. No, you were right by half
It was
of a game.
more a shout out for me. I should be working for Vegas because some of
I
these
agree.
over-unders
That's your
I was
second
right
at
on
least
there.
that was so close.
I mean,
like,
come
that's
on.
amazing.
How many starts did Cookie make this year? Cookie made 29 starts and our over-under was 21.5. So I was a little off there. And you got the over, so good on you. Let's see. Anything else significant? Francisco Lindor, you nailed the over on 149.5 games. I took the under. What else we got? Seth Lugo, I took the under on 69.5 innings. Nailed that. Trevor May still hasn't hit anybody with a pitch. So we had
Let's
0.5
slow down a
hit
little
by
bit.
pitches.
Let's. I don't even know where we are, let alone the
Are there
list.
any that you want to highlight specifically?
Let's just talk about all of them. So Lindor's over under for games, we had 149 and a half. He ended up at 161. I said over, you said under. Clearly, some of it, like a big piece of his value is he's on the field
Right.
every single day. So that was a good one. Marte,
I was ambitious here.
yeah, you thought he might get 40 bags.
Got 40 bags last year.
What'd he end up with this year?
He ended up with 18 stolen
18.
bases.
How many caught stealing?
9.
So he didn't even end up with 40 attempts.
Yeah, I think towards the end they probably just told him to stop. In general,
Plus he missed some time. So we were,
a
there.
little ambitious there. That's on me.
The 410 slug, you took the under and were correct.
Yeah,
What
I
was
thought
his slugging?
he would have been higher. I mean, it was 403, so we were pretty close to the mark there.
And I think that was a subpar year for him slugging
Right.
wise.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
can
he didn't
check
even
that.
until that Philly series where he hit, those big home runs, he was like way down.
He's a 426 career slugging, 403 this year. So not bad.
I took the over for 34 and a half walks for Ottavino, and he was like 16 walks.
I mean, who could have really expected this out of him
Well,
this season?
I expected him for some reason to be like a righty specialist, and he definitely wasn't that. So I was very wrong with that.
Yeah, I remember we talked about that on the PPP, and then all the Yankee fans at the office who had listened to it, they were like, they're not going to do that because teams have tried to do that before, and Ottavino just doesn't work in that role. And I was like, all right,
Yeah,
we'll see.
but he started throwing that two-seam fastball, and it was very good versus lefties and righties. So
You nailed Edwin Diaz 34.5 saves with the under there. And it's weird to think that it was under because he had such a good year, but just not a lot of save opportunities. Ended up with 32, though. So pretty close.
yeah, I mean he had an incredible year.
I hope
So,
Vegas sees this podcast, man. I'm open to
you
offers.
looking for another job,
maybe
Johnny?
like a part-time gig in the offseason. I don't know. I could work
Tell
it
him to
out.
tune into your amp. Cookie, 21 and a half games started.
Yeah.
What did he end up with?
He ended up at 29. So honestly,
That's basically a full season of starts. That's
good
incredible.
for Cookie. Good for
Yeah.
Cookie. Very underrated season down the stretch there.
Home runs per 9. He ended up under 1.1.
That was a big time struggle for him last year, and he ended up under it at 1.0. Man, I'm on fire, Jerry.
That's amazing. That's really good because, I mean, if you look at home runs per 9, Bassett has 0.9, Taiwan was 0.9, Scherzer 0.8,
Yep.
Peterson 0.9, and DeGrom was at 1.3.
Wow, 1.3 for DeGrom. No way. That's high.
Yeah, and so that's a good, a barometer for how good Cookie was. Obviously, he ran out of gas at the end, but man, he had a good year.
Yeah, DeGrom's career home run per 9 is 0.8. He was 0.5 above that this year. That's a huge jump.
Again, 11 starts.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Eduardo Escobar, 24.5 home runs. I took the under and got that. He ended up with 16, I believe.
Yeah, I was very high on what
Well,
Eduardo
20.
Escobar could have done.
Apologies, 20. I was looking at Mark Canna by mistake.
Gotcha.
Ended up with 20
20.
home runs there. Not bad. Not a bad season by Eduardo by any means. Very happy that you nailed Brandon Nemo games. We did 119.5. I was very cautious and took the under, and he absolutely blew past that with 151 games on the year.
Pretty incredible considering, his history as a player and missing time, his little nagging injuries that he'd have crop up. I think he probably played through some things that he normally wouldn't have this year. And he had a fantastic year. So
what was I thinking taking the under on Jeff McNeil 299 batting average?
Did we do Lugo's already?
Lugo's was 69.5 innings pitched. I took the under there. And Trevor May, we did a hit by pitch 0.5. Trevor May still hasn't hit a batter with the Mets, which I think
Lugo ended up at 65 innings, so that we were close.
Pretty close there. And
Trevor May still didn't hit a batter. Again, very disappointing.
Trevor May hasn't hit a batter since 2019. How do you like that?
Yeah. You took this is the big one, though.
Yeah, the McNeil one.
Jeff McNeil basically batting 300.
Completely
and you said
missed.
No.
I guess I didn't believe in the resurgence. I definitely do now. But
are you a believer?
I'm definitely a Jeff McNeil believer now.
Yeah, he's an amazing pure hitter.
What else we got here? Pete Alonso strikeout percentage, which I'm pleasantly surprised that I got the under there at 20%. What did it end up at? I think it was just
that was a big deal.
Yeah, 18.7% for Pete Alonso strikeout percentage this year.
So that shows you again. That's how you lead. That's how you lead the league in RBI.
Hell yeah.
Because as a pure power hitter, you become vulnerable to strikeouts because you're just trying to hit home runs. Well, he didn't do that. He also hit 271 this year, which is incredible.
Jerry, I don't know if you see this next one. It's pretty rough.
I haven't. Let me take a look.
It's 2 down from Pete Alonso's strikeout percentage.
Oh, is Dom Smith.
Dom Smith, 475 slug. I don't know what we were thinking. I mean,
I don't know either. We're so ambitious.
We were so ambitious with Dom Smith. 475 slugging. I took the under. You took the over. He ended up at 284 slugging.
Ooh, just a hair.
Just like a hair.
Oh, my God. Well, I mean, let's look at his career slugging. I mean, he's had 2 seasons above that.
Yeah, from 2017 to 2020, his slugging was 494.
That should have been an under just based on math, but I was very hopeful for Dom Smith to take that.
You were hopeful on Dom Smith. I was hopeful on J.D. Davis, and we were kind of both wrong. I mean, J.D. Davis's slugging mark was 450. You took the under. I took the over, and during his Mets time at least, he ended up at 359, so 100%.
And the 14.5 home runs, I took the under as well.
He really only hit 4 home runs with the Mets this year.
Yeah, 4. I mean, what do you hit in general on the season? Let's see if those even cumulative, because he matched for.
Look at his Giants numbers because they just make me upset.
So he hit 12 home runs total in 2022. God. So that's still under, and he slugged 418.
God, his Giants numbers are so much better. It's so annoying.
He's still, I mean, his splits again. Change of scenery is a real deal.
It's the real deal, man.
He's a Northern California boy, so him being so he slugged 496 as a Giant.
What could have been?
He had an OPS plus of 140 as
Jerry,
a Giant.
You're actively hurting me right now.
I'm doing it on purpose.
I nailed Mcneil and Peterson though, which I'm kind of happy about. We had 16.5 games started from Mcneil. I took the under there. You took the over. He ended up with 9 games started, 15 games total. Yeah, tough year for Mcneil, injury-wise. Yep. Peterson, I took the over on 9.5 games started. You took the under. He ended up with 19 games started.
He had a hell of a year, man.
He had a great year, man.
So basically, you thought Peterson... you thought Peterson would take that 5th starter role. I thought Mcneil would take it, and Mcneil had it at the beginning and then got hurt.
And I will admit that I definitely believed in Mcneil a little bit more than I did in Peterson this year. I kind of just went with the reverse jinx there, and I guess it kind of worked out. I don't know what I was thinking on this last one. We had over-under set for Max Scherzer at 299.5 strikeouts. I was feeling myself, man. I mean, even if he didn't get injured, he wasn't even going to get close to this. I took the over. You took the under. He ends up with 173.
Did anybody end up with 300 strikeouts
No
in
one.
either league?
Scherzer had gotten to 300 in 2018, which is, I think, my thinking with that. To just
You were
kinda
just
go for broke.
drinking the Kool-Aid.
I don't know why I'm a baseball analyst.
That's all right.
It seems-
Sometimes we're wrong.
Sometimes we're wrong, sometimes we're right. But that was all of our over-unders. We agreed on, I'd say, about half of them, and we're wrong about half the time there.
Yeah.
I ended up with 19. You ended up with 17.
I don't believe your tally
You don't believe my tally?
because it's not updated because we made some adjustments.
I think Jack's going to do some quick math right now.
Yeah,
Jack's got our back. So you don't believe I won, huh? That's what you're saying. All right, well, while Jack's on that,
I'm counting.
you're counting out too?
Well, you're not a robot.
no one
We've
believes
established that you make mistakes, and so
Unbelievable.
you're going to skew things in your favor.
Let's see, what does Jack say? I'll count too.
19 to 17, but he got 2 wrong.
Yeah, but we got one wrong that was right and one right that was wrong. So they kind of
So you're equally wrong on both ends.
There you go. I like that.
Okay.
So I take home the over-unders, but I do think I had some pretty bad ones in here.
Well, yeah.
You know,
We
can't be
both,
right on
yeah.
everything,
You had
guys.
more egregious ones.
I'll make the odds for
think.
Vegas. I won't bet on them. How about that? We'll stick to that. You want to talk some apples?
Let's talk apples. Let's move on. Move into
Hell
the apples.
Yeah. Can you roll the Apple soundtrack one last time? I'm gonna miss that. Makes me sad. Okay. Some really interesting things stick out to me with the apples here. I think we'll start with the most awarded player this year, and it shouldn't surprise anybody. With 11 apples on the year, it was Francisco Lindor, so he is the
I'll
most
clap for that.
awarded player on the apples.
Yeah, man. He probably deserved more than just 11 as well.
Definitely so.
I gave him 6. You gave him 5. Why do you hate Francisco Lindor?
I don't hate Francisco Lindor.
You love him less than I do, so you hate him.
Well, you know what? You know who you love way more than I do, who was second
Yeah.
on the list, which shocked me?
Yeah.
Eduardo Escobar took home 10 apples this year. You gave him 7 by yourself.
Yeah.
You're a big
I'll
Eddie
clap
guy.
anyway.
Yeah.
So here's my thinking. I haven't dived, I think is the proper
Dove?
conjugation. I haven't dived back in. Dove in? I don't know. But he had some amazing series.
Yes.
Overall, it was like hot or cold.
Right.
So he came out, he had like a cycle, he had some big home runs. So I think he came out, and I was really, really wanting him to light fire and carry this team. And he did for a while. And so I probably overweighted some of his performances, but I felt like he might have deserved a bit of those.
No, I definitely think he did. And I think it's exactly what you said. He just kind of came up big in select series. Past episode 95, he got 5 of his 10 apples. And most of those were like late August, September.
And 3 of
apples.
those are mine, 2 were yours.
2 are mine. So you're always
So,
just
he was the opposite of Steady Eddie.
Yeah, for sure.
He was like spiking here and there. So
inconsistent Eddie. But
yeah.
loved him when he was hot. Wow, I did not give Pete Alonso enough respect this year. 8 apples
Well,
total.
it goes we'll talk about it in a minute, but you didn't give Alonso his respect and I didn't give Mcneil his respect.
Yeah, it's weird. So they both
We both
end up
went
with
like
8.
Alonso got 8 from both of us. I gave Alonso 6, you gave him 2. McNeil also got 8, you gave him 6, I gave him 2.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but I guess I love McNeil more than you do, and you love Alonso more than I do. But I love Alonso.
I think that's a fair assessment.
I can't believe I only gave him 2. So much.
And you know what? Pete Alonso he had so many game-winning RBI.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he literally won so many games. And I remember specifically times where I didn't give Jeff McNeil my apple, and I probably should have. And it's probably in a couple of those Escobar ones.
It was definitely, I think, like a bridesmaid, never the bride kind of thing, because Jeff was always just kind of doing his job. And I think it's the same thing for Alonso. I think I just took him for granted. Like, wanted to highlight other people that were maybe surprising us with their performances.
Yeah.
One thing that really surprised me was the most awarded pitcher this year, which was Taiwan Walker. Had the most apples of any pitcher with 5. 4 of them coming from you, Jerry. You are a big Taiwan Walker guy.
I am a big Taiwan Walker fan. I think if you go back and look as a collective on these numbers, his season was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, Bassett was the innings eater. He outdid him at 182 to 157.
Right.
But outside of that, 29 starts, really, really consistent for most of the year. He ended up with a 3.49. He outperformed, and I think he came up really big when the team needed him. There were times when Bassett, when Scherzer and DeGrom were down, Bassett had a low, and Taiwan was that guy that showed up and solidified it. And so it was like momentum performances on top of a just very good year. I think, I felt like he deserved the ones that I gave him.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I did not realize how close Walker and Bassett's ERA were at the end of the season. 3.42 for Bassett, 3.49 for Walker, and like a very similar output aside from those like 30 innings in between. He's going to get a nice little deal this offseason. Good for Taiwan.
He should, man. And I think what he brings to the table is sustainable. What he's learned.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Anything else you want to highlight from our apples?
No, look, we 11 to Lindor,
Yeah.
10 to Escobar, 8 each to Alonso, Mcneil, Nemo 1-5, Canna 5, Taiwan 5, Marte 4, Diaz 4, Bassett 4, DeGrom 3, Scherzer 3, Carrasco 3. Trevor Williams got 3 from you. I didn't give him any. Shocker.
You didn't give any to Cookie either.
I think you deserve those. Nito got 2, 1 each from us. The bullpen got 2 from me as a whole. Not a surprise there.
Makes sense.
You gave 2 to Guillorme. I gave 1 to Yohan Lopez, 1 to Daniel Vogelback, 1 to Stevie Cohen.
Mm-hmm.
And you gave 1 to Adonis Medina, Peterson, and Tyler Naquin.
Yeah, man. Your most awarded player was Escobar. My most awarded player was Mcneil. And I got to shout this out because it's a stat that I like. And even though it's unfortunate, the only player with 50-plus games this year on the Mets to not get an apple was James McCann.
That's it.
That
just sums it all up.
So, yeah, that is our kind of recap on the apples this year and our over-unders. Nice to kind of go back through the year, like awards-wise, and just look at how we did there. We're going to get into our big-time awards, the ones that we nicknamed, and we're going to explain them to you guys as we go. But first, I got to tell you about our second sponsor for our second off-season episode, which is Ridge Wallet, and I got one here in my hand, full of the IDs from the John Boy Media Office people who I could just reveal in docs right now, but I won't do that because I'm a nice guy. Come on. Guys, the Ridge Wallet is incredibly convenient, incredibly discreet, and it works just as well as any wallet you could fit in your pocket. It holds up to 12 cards plus room for cash. There's over 30 colors and styles, so you can customize it whatever way that you want, and they have over 50,000 5-star reviews on their website. They've got this really durable material. It comes with a lifetime warranty in case that it breaks as well, and the Ridge team is so confident that you'll like it that they'll let you test drive it for 45 days, and you can send it back for a full refund if you don't love it. That is what I call trust from Ridge Wallet. So check out the link in our description and use code JOHNBOY for 10% off, and you can get your own Ridge Wallet today. Clip it to your belt buckle, shove it in your pocket, whatever you want to do.
Don't clip it to your belt buckle.
I mean, you could if you want
Don't
to.
do that.
I'm not going to tell my listeners what to do.
Not next to your cell phone.
It's efficient. It's a dad look. Come on, man.
Don't do that. Put it in your pocket.
Ridge.com/JohnBoy. Use code JohnBoy to get 10% off. Thank you to Ridge Wallet for sending us one of these. They're
Thank
great.
you. Thank you, Ridge Wallet. Don't clip it on your belt.
I might clip it on my belt buckle.
I'm going to steal it then.
Not if it's clipped. How are you going to get it off? Going to pull my pants off?
I've got David Blaine style,
We got 11 awards here. Am I counting correctly?
Okay, yeah. So we came up with these awards. We named them.
I'm
We were
excited.
having fun with them. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Nailed the count.
They're going to end with the Golden Apple Award, which is our MVP. All MVP. It's the best position player, pitcher, the best of the best. We do have a MVP award, which is the best position player, that we named the David Wright Award.
Yes, we did.
The Cy Young, we're calling the Tom Seaver Award. So these are going to be annual awards that we give out. We're
Right.
trying to name them. If you guys think of a name you want to add, obviously do that. So that's it. So the big three: the Golden Apple, the David Wright Award, and the Tom Seaver Award. That's
Love
the
those.
crown jewels.
We'll do those
of
at the
our
end,
award
though.
season.
We got to save them. We also have the Wear His Jersey Award for our favorite player, regardless of their stats, just a guy that we really liked. The Debbie Downer Award for kind of the biggest disappointment of the year. We have I love this one, the Keith Hernandez Award for the Gold Glove, which we got plenty of candidates for. And we have the Pour One Out Award for kind of like an unsung hero of the team that kind of got cast away through the middle of the season. But we'll start with these first four, which we couldn't really come up with creative names for because they kind of just are what they are. And the first one is our most improved player for this season.
So that's like a player that had a kind of a rough year for whatever circumstances the year before, and then made a big leap forward this year. Maybe not the biggest difference, but maybe showed you that he's not who you thought, or are those candidates. So who do you have as our candidates for the most improved player?
So our candidates here, and you can take this in a few different directions based on the degree of how they played and stuff like that. But I have Luis Guillorme here. Tomas Nido had a really good year. David Peterson really turned things around. Cookie Carrasco bounced back from some injury to improve as well. Jeff Mcneil should be on here as well, even though he was a great player before this, kind of had a down 2021 and then improved a lot this year. And Edwin Diaz, we've seen a lot of highs and lows from Diaz. He improved a lot to have arguably his best season of his career. Do you want to hand out your award first?
Yeah, so I'm going to eliminate Cookie Carrasco because I don't want most improved to be based off of injury. He had a bad year last year because of injury, I believe. So right. I'm not gonna allow him in there. My two candidates are David Peterson, who had an incredible year after a rough 2021 when he was supposed to be one of the stalwarts in the line or in the rotation,
right,
because he looked so good in 2020, fell back a little bit. And then Tomas Nido for me over Guillorme. Guillorme was great, but I think he's always been this player. He just hasn't had the playing time. But sure. Nido showed that he can catch and he can come up with some clutch hits. And he looked really good down the stretch. So it might be some recency bias for me. But I think I'm going to give it most improved to David Peterson.
Yeah.
David Peterson for me. I mean, the way he bounced back from a rough 2021, he also overcame a lot of uncertainty because of his role going up and down from AAA to the big leagues, in and out of the rotation, in and out of the bullpen, back and forth, never regular rest. He never complained. He never bitched and moaned about his role or seemed ungrateful. He just took the ball and pitched really well. So for me to come back, so this year he threw 105 and 2/3 innings with a 3.83 ERA. Last year he had 15 starts. He had a 5.5.
Yep.
And so he really made a leap forward for me. I think his home runs were down. His walks were up a little bit, but his strikeouts were up. He was competitive and reliable every time he took the ball. You knew what you're going to get, whereas last year you had no idea what was going to come. So he's my winner.
I definitely love that pick, and I'm not one to usually double up with you, but I kind of think he is the definitive answer here. I mean, I really liked what I saw from Tomas Nido this year. His numbers don't jump off the page, so if you're not a Mets fan watching every game, you might have not seen that improvement. But with David Peterson, he definitely had his ups and downs this year, but he was huge for us in a lot of starts. There's one start that I always go back to, and I'm going to try and find it now. I think it was against the Braves, if I can find it. Well, he had plenty of shutout starts along the way, kind of had to fill an ambiguous role similar to that of Trevor Williams. Early in the season, he was great. He had a couple great starts in their division and stuff like that. And it was just the polar opposite of what we had seen from him last year, where he was very unsure of himself, kind of dancing around the zone, didn't really have command of a good strikeout pitch. And this year, he struck out 126 guys in 105 innings, compared to 69 and 66 innings last year. That's a huge jump in terms of strikeout numbers, and that's what you want to see from a guy that you're hoping will eventually take a step forward and be a part of this rotation. It's kind of a robust market in terms of trading and free agents for starting pitchers this year, but David Peterson is a guy that you should look at as a potential piece of next year's rotation, and I think he did a lot this year to kind of prove himself and hopefully win back that role, even though he ended up in the bullpen towards the end. So most improved net, David Peterson.
David Peterson. I want to make sure because I really considered Guillorme here.
Yep.
But Guillorme felt like in the beginning of the year, he was like all-world hitter. He was hitting like 340. We were like, man, is this really the guy? He started for a while when some guys went down to injury, but he really kind of fell back down to who he is as a player.
Yep.
Not that he's not really, really good. He's a great baseball player, but let's compare this year to last year. Like he ended up hitting 273 this year to 265. His on base percentage last year was 370. It was 350 this year. He did slug a little bit higher, 340 to 311, but his OPS of this year was 691. His OPS last year of 685. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
he stayed about the same player that he is, which is awesome. So that's just why we chose, because I feel like Peterson took a huge leap forward.
Definitely agree there. And it was just a matter of like, we didn't really know what we were going to get with Peterson. And we ended up getting 100 solid innings out of him this year.
All right, let's move on. Which one do you want to go to next?
I'm excited about this one. This one's kind of a looking forward award. We have the biggest candidate to improve next year. We got some interesting guys to look at here. We have Tyler McGill, who suffered with some injuries this year, didn't have the year that we were quite expecting. Francisco Alvarez, who we only really saw for the last week of the season, really. Brett Beatty, who went down with injury after his stint. Mark Vientos, who kind of struggled in his call-up. And Khalil Lee, who only saw about 2 games of play this year, but could see a bigger role next year. Who do you think is the biggest candidate to improve?
So I'm going to eliminate Alvarez because I don't think he had a big enough sample size to improve upon.
Yep.
And same goes for Khalil Lee. So really it came down to Beatty, Vientos, and McGill for me. I think McGill's the easy one to bounce back but I wouldn't say improve from an area of injury counts for me. I don't like your comeback award to be from injury. I think it should be from lack of performance. That's just my personal opinion.
Sure.
But I think I'm going to go with Vientos because I really like what I saw from him and Beatty. But I'm going to go with Vientos because I think I saw him start to mature at the plate a little bit. He seemed really overwhelmed and overmatched for the majority of the season. And I think he started to get into it a little bit, get a taste of the big leagues. So, I mean, this year he hit, let's see. He had 41 plate appearances. Him and Beatty had about the same. Right. They both hit under 200. But Vientos slugged 278, which is, subpar for what you were considering from him. But I liked what I saw as far as approach and control at the end. So I think he's going to play a significant role moving forward. For next year. I think both of those players are viable, but I'm gonna choose Vientos.
Yeah, I like the pick there. I mean, he slugged 519 in AAA this year for basically 100 games. So there's definitely a capability there to drive the ball at a major league level. Definitely thinks he needs a larger sample size. Kind of got thrown into the fire in September just because we needed a body, especially because Brett Beatty went down. I think I am gonna go with Tyler McGill because he did battle some injury this year, but even in times where we saw him healthy, I don't think it was what he was fully capable of. Kind of got switched between the rotation and the bullpen as well. And I just keep going back to Tyler McGill's April because it doesn't seem like it was from this season because of how good it was. In April alone, he made 5 starts, mostly 5 innings. One time he went 6 2/3, but 28 innings, 6 earned runs. That's a 1.93 ERA. And pretty much as soon as April ended, that's when things kind of fell apart. He had that horrible start in Washington where he went on the IL, came back for a couple stints, went back on the IL again, and then didn't really assimilate well to that bullpen role. I think with a fixed role next year, whether it is in the bullpen or whether it is in the rotation, if he doesn't have to move between roles and can hopefully just stay healthy, I think we'll see a lot more production out of Tyler McGill. And I think there's a lot of Mets fans kind of selling him short right now. So I'm very, very eager to see how he improves next year.
I think he has a very, very high ceiling. We saw that in that April you mentioned. So, all right, let's move on.
Onward and upward to the biggest surprise player of the 2022 season. I think it's probably going to come down to 2 guys for us here. I have 4 guys listed. David Peterson and Luis Guillorme are 2 of them. But 2 of the most surprising players for me personally were Trevor Williams, the extraordinary swingman, and Adam Ottavino, who became the lockdown 8th inning guy out of nowhere pretty much. What do you got here?
I think clearly that's our 2 candidates. Guillorme just played a lot and played really well. I think so you can eliminate him. But for me, I can't say enough about what Trevor Williams did for this team. His ability to go back and forth, you know, David Peterson was a nice surprise, and I think he took it well but I've never seen this level of Trevor Williams before. I knew he was a prize prospect for the Pirates while he was there. But at 30 years old, like, he had an incredible season.
Yeah.
So I think that's my award. Where are you leaning?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to give Trevor Williams some love. He is an oncoming free agent, and I do think if he doesn't come back here, he should go somewhere where he can start, because I think he's fully capable of being a reliable rotation arm for a major league team. But he answered the call so well for the Mets this year. Whatever they needed, he was able to give and do well at that. But in terms of a surprise player, I had no idea that we were going to get this out of Adam Ottavino, so he's going to get the award for me. The guy finishes the year with 65 2/3 innings, 79 strikeouts, and a 2.06 ERA. This is his best year since 2019 with the Yankees, where he was locked down for them. I mean, he was a 36-year-old coming off 2 seasons with an ERA above 4 for contending teams in a tough AL East division, but still, to get the lockdown production that you got out of Adam Ottavino, especially in a time where we kind of needed a bridge to Edwin Diaz. There was kind of nobody answering that call. Even Ottavino earlier in the season was struggling. And then pretty much after that Nick Castellanos home run back in May against the Phillies, he locked in after that third day of usage. I think Buck really implemented him well, too, and just put a lot of trust in his veteran. And I think that this season turns out a lot differently without Adam Ottavino kind of bridging the gap between your starter or middle relief to Edwin Diaz. So he gets my my biggest surprise award.
Nice. Yeah, I like that. But again, for me, Ottavino, I've seen it before.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen relievers age well and figure themselves out, you know, even in an older age, and have a good year. So it wasn't as big a surprise to me as Trevor Williams. I mean, Trevor Williams this year, 90 innings, he had a 3.2 ERA. I mean, outside of that, 2021, 4.5, 2020, 6, a 5 ERA, a 7 his rookie year, a 4. He only had one amazing year in 2018 with the Pirates. He made 31 starts with a 3.11 ERA. And then he's never been the same. That was 26 years old. He's 30 now.
Yeah.
And he took that swing roll and ran with it. 3.2 ERA. That was to me, I could see Ottavino having that kind of year that he had, but I'm surprised by how good Trevor Williams was.
He's the best trade thrown of all time, maybe. Just kind of lobbed into the Javi Baez deal, and it turned out he was a very important piece for us this year.
Yeah, he pitched for the Mets in 2021 too. So
yeah, kind of crazy.
All right.
Jump into the most underrated player of the year now. There's a couple ways you can kind of define this award, but I think the best way to say it is just a guy that you were maybe expecting a certain level of production out of this year, and then they completely exceeded that by a sizable margin. So not akin to like surprise player where you maybe weren't expecting to get anything and instead got a lot. But this guy, you know, he was here to fill a role, and he did it exceptionally well. So the guys I have here are Eduardo Escobar, Mark Canha, Seth Lugo is on this list as well, Cookie Carrasco, because we kind of didn't know what we were going to get, Taiwan Walker, and then Adam Ottavino again.
Did you say Canha?
I did say Canha. I don't know why.
That was weird.
Hey man, you gotta highlight all my mistakes. It's unbelievable.
It just sounded funny. Man, yeah, these are fun. I'm gonna go pitcher here. Just one of those like guy, because I mean Bassett could be on here for a guy that just perennially underrated for what they do. But for me, Taiwan Walker had an incredible year.
Absolutely.
He had an amazing year. Probably should have been an all-star again. So I'm going with him. Just a phenomenal year. I'm going to take a look. I'm going to give him a rundown once more.
Hell yeah.
157 1/3 innings, made 29 starts, and he had a 3.49 ERA on the year. Like, won 12 games, went 12-5, was there, reliable, incredible year. Ended really strong. Had a lull post All-Star break, but I really appreciate what he did. He was reliable, so he's the underrated player for me.
Yeah, I mean, I said it before, but I didn't realize how good his numbers were until they were right in front of my face, and I was like, oh wow, he was basically
that is definition of underrated.
There you go. One guy I think I'm going to give some love to is a guy that is not really being talked about, I think, as much as he should in terms of how are the Mets going to retool for next year. Look at all these free agents. The right-handed lefty reliever of our bullpen, Seth Lugo, I think was incredibly important to the team this year. He does end the year with a pretty standard 3.6 ERA. Got a decent amount of innings, but that's mostly because he kind of stumbled there a little bit at the finish, gave up some home runs in September. On September 7th, his ERA was 2.96 on the year, and this was a year where we entered with Chasen Shreve and Joely Rodriguez as our lefty relievers, and neither of them really, heeded the calling to step up, and instead Seth Lugo kind of stepped into that role, and we used him in a lot of different ways this year. He got 3 saves on the year, and he was always there. We never went down with injury, and we kind of needed him all year long alongside Ottavino and Diaz, and he was the perfect 7th inning guy. And I just think that he just always falls under the radar. We've had him for quite a while now. We've made him a starter. We've made him a closer. We've made him a middle reliever and now a lefty reliever. And he's done each of those things pretty well in spades. And I think that he's a very important piece that I hope the Mets will prioritize and bring back next year. So Seth Lugo, he gets my most underrated player award.
I love it. I appreciate that. That's very objective or subjective award to give out. Cool.
Like it. This next award might be my favorite one that we have here. This was an Audio Jack award. He came up with this. This is the Pour One Out award. These were the guys that most of them didn't even end up on the roster towards the end of the season, but they each had their own brief moment in the sun for the Mets, kind of played an important role for whether it was a day, a week, maybe a couple weeks, just kind of the course of things as they go on through 162 games. And we got some names here. We got Travis Jankowski. Remember him. Colin Holderman got dealt in the Vogelback trade. Tommy Hunter, who came back from 7 herniated discs. Michael Perez was big in that Phillies series back when we didn't really know who was going to be catching games. Yohan Lopez hit some dudes. And Nate Fisher had only 1 game this year, but he became a nationwide baseball story for that one day. I think there's a lot of choices here, so I'm interested to see where you go.
Oh, man. So really, there's only 2 candidates for me.
Oh,
Pour one out. Gone, but not forgotten
Exactly.
guy. The 2 candidates are Jankowski, who was like a spark plug at the beginning of this year for our team. Played great defense, was hitting a little bit, was running. He was the guy, but I think it was him. Michael Perez was a little firecracker at the catching position for a minute when McCann was coming back. Are we going to let McCann go because Perez is a left-handed hitter, whatever the case may be. But you got to go with Nate Fisher.
Yeah.
I think for me, there's no other choice. I mean, he came in and filled in at Philly. He threw 3 innings, gave up 1 hit. Just a beautiful story. The guy, out of nowhere, he was not even playing baseball. Talk of the town. I think he's the pour one out. Thank you for your brief appearance. Bright spot in our season. We'll pour one out for you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was
I'll wear a t-shirt with your face and airbrush, like whatever the case may be.
Yeah, that was the Mark Cannon game where he hits 2 huge home runs to help beat Philly. But none of that happens without Nate Fisher relieving Jose Budo and throwing 3 shutout innings out of nowhere. So he was great that game. Glad that he definitely got his moment in the sun, and hopefully he gets more moments in the future next season as well. A couple fun candidates here. I do think I'm going to give mine to Jankowski, though. And I'm looking at his game logs, and I cannot believe for a month that he was actually just like an incredibly productive hitter for the Mets. On May 3rd, he had totaled 30 plate appearances. He had a 360 batting average and an 808 OPS with 4 walks and 3 stolen bases. He was dragging bunts. He was making defenses uncomfortable, sacrifice hits, just doing everything that was pure early season Mets baseball, which was small ball, next man up. Jankowski was the epitome of that. He definitely slowed down after that May 3rd mark and kind of stumbled towards the end there before he got DFA'd. But he was just like a really fun player to root for. He is our producer's favorite player on the Mets, which I think is hilarious. And I always remember the quote that he said at the beginning of the season where he said, "No one's going to buy my jersey." And then everybody on the team went out and got jerseys with Jankowski on the back, which I thought was really, really sweet and a good sign of clubhouse chemistry. So Travis Jankowski, nice bright spot that'll probably be forgotten on the 2022 Mets. He gets my Pour One Out award.
I like it. I mean, that's a good pick. He's the kind of definition. He got replaced by Tyler Naquin, who was like a shinier, better version of Travis Jankowski. You know what I mean? He's a little bit faster.
Yep.
Batted, left-handed, a little bit more pop, a little bit more thunder. So
he didn't have the locks.
Pour one out for you, Jank.
Didn't have the locks. That was the difference,
I like it.
Now we get into our named awards. These are the big boy awards. These last 5 or 6.
Let's switch the Keith Hernandez award and the Debbie Downer award.
Can we? So you want to go to Debbie Downer now?
Let's move the Keith Hernandez award to right before the Seaver Wright award.
Okay, so you're highlighting that. I like that. All right, so
because and the Where is jersey too. Like switch those as well.
Okay. Well, now we got to be negative here.
Yeah, that's fine. We're allowed one bit of negativity.
Yeah, we're a positive pod, but we do have to talk about the guys that did not fulfill their billing this year, did not reach the heights we were hoping them to get to. It is the Debbie Downer award, kind of the biggest disappointment of the year. We got some names that'll give Mets fans some bad memories.
You don't even have to. You shouldn't have to summarize why they were a disappointment. You know,
every Met fan knows. But the 5 names we got are J.D. Davis, Dom Smith, Darren Ruff, Robinson Cano, and James McCann. All good choices.
Yeah.
Where do you want to go?
All bad choices in a sense. I mean, again, this is hard for us to be negative.
Right.
And the Debbie Downer award, like, it just makes me sad. That's Debbie Downer. That's why I want to give it out. It's like, have you ever seen that skit on SNL? It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's the gif that I thought of. Like she pops up.
She zooms in. She's brilliant. But there's only one that does this, or really does this for me. Like, I would give it to the DH as a position, just in general. But the Debbie Downer award for me goes to Darren Ruff.
Yeah.
Like, Debbie Downer. That's it. I don't want to. That's all I need is Darren Ruff for me.
I just think his is accented because he's under contract for 2 more years. Like,
we gave up so many players too.
So much.
And we replaced like JD Davis and disappointment from the right side for that, and then JD Davis goes off and shines, and we get Darren Ruff, who. Just makes you sad. Debbie Downer.
It's a Debbie Downer for sure. Yeah, that I'm reluctant to give it to a guy like JD Davis because he did finish the year solid and he had been good for us before, so it feels bad giving him that award. Kind of same thing for Dom Smith, had been good before. I think I got to double up and also give mine to Darren Ruff. I honestly didn't mind the trade at the beginning. I thought JD Davis needed to change the scenery. I didn't mind parting with Sapucky. It was the pitching prospects that I was like, but also you were getting 2 more years of control out of this guy that had gone overseas, really fixed his swing and come back and reinvented himself. And he stunk. He just stunk. There's no real other way to say it. Darren Ruff gets the unified Debbie Downer award from both of us.
Yeah, I think that's pretty clear.
Oh, yeah. But now we get to do a fun one. I like
this
one. Yay!
This is the Wear His Jersey award. We kind of alluded to it with the Jankowski talk. This is basically like, for me, this is how I view this award. It's, he's maybe not the best player or the most popular, but if you watch a team, this is the guy that you like. I wear your jersey. I appreciate you because I like the way you go about your business. So that's how I view it. I want to hear your take on it. And who you decide.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. It's it can be a good player in my opinion, but it's also...
absolutely can be. But this, for me, it would be a little bit deeper as far as like if another like casual fan saw you wearing this jersey, they'd be like, "Who is that?"
Exactly.
But if you're a real fan of the team, you're like, "I love that. That's great."
A guy that steps onto the field and you go, "Let's go!" Like, I'm so happy I'm watching this guy on my TV right now. You can pick your MVP candidates, but this is more about like your unsung heroes that you personally just really, really have a favoritism towards. I got a lot of guys though. Honestly, I loved a lot of dudes on this team. I think I'm going to go first here. I thought about Vogie for a little bit because Vogie was really, really fun when he came over and, still ended the year with solid numbers. We're obviously big Drew Smith guys. We love Drew Smith, and he came back and was solid after his injury. But I think I'm going to give mine to Luis Guillorme. And Luis Guillorme is an incredibly easy guy to root for. He does so many things well outside of baseball, whether it's juggling or catching flying bats and stuff like that, and flashing amazing leather in the field. He's a player that I think every team could benefit from having. He's never going to be the star of your team, but I think he's a great clubhouse guy, and he's just fun to root for. So Luis Guillorme gets my award.
Love it. I want to shout out Patrick Mazeika because I really wanted to wear Mazeika's jersey, but I got to go Guillorme too.
Yeah,
like
double.
I just appreciate the gritty, no batting gloves, amazing glove work as a pitcher. To have that guy behind you is fantastic. And we're talking about, wearing a jersey. I mean, he's got number 13. So, and that's my favorite number. So I would happily wear a Guillorme jersey. And it's fun to say Guillorme.
Yeah, great name, Luis Guillorme.
Yeah, it's a great name.
Great
so I'm a big fan
as
of.
Well, like
I'm a big fan of his style of play, what he brings to the team, and he's got a beautiful number. So I'll do that all day long.
Love that. Guillorme could also win our next award, which is the Keith Hernandez Award for the best glove in the field, the Gold Glove, if you will. There's really 4 guys that jump out and contend for this one. Obviously, Francisco Lindor has won Gold Gloves before. He might win one again this year. Luis Guillorme is known as the defensive wizard at pretty much every infield position. Brandon Nemo took a giant leap forward in center field this year to become one of the best defensive center fielders in the game. And Jeff Mcneil, you can pretty much put him anywhere, and he'll give you a solid defensive performance. Who do you got?
I mean, Guillorme, known from Gary Cohen as the Manos de Oro, like golden hands. Hands of gold. I think Lindor should win a Gold Glove this year. Definitely should have won it last year. I think Dansby might take it this year simply because of offensive numbers, which is weird. Nemo's really good, deserving. I don't think his arm is enough for me, but I think he made the catch of the year, the home run when DeGrom was pitching that he robbed. Super sweet. But Jeff McNeil is my winner for the Keith Hernandez Award. The guy, it was unbelievable. He didn't play a ton of games in left field, but he played Gold Glove caliber left field. From something that was like suspect kind of last year, for him to make those leaps forward. And then he just filled in. He just was second base, and he played Gold Glove second base. Him and Lindor had a good combination together of turning double plays. The raccoon thing was behind him. He seemed to know exactly where he needed to be. He studied, he listened. He took a major leap forward defensively for me, and he played a solid right field, man. This might be making up for all of the apples that I didn't give him because I really think Lindor deserves a Gold Glove at shortstop, which is part of his value. But I can't – the shock value for me on how consistently good, no matter where he was put, I think deserves this award. So the Keith Hernandez Award for me goes to Jeff McNeil.
Love that. And I'll fill the other end of the billing, and I'll give mine to Francisco Lindor because I think I'm going to talk about Jeff a little bit later. Lindor definitely deserves to win a Gold Glove. I do think Dansby will probably snake it from him for the exact reason that you said before. But it's just kind of the way I think about it is the comfort level. Whenever I see a ball hit towards short, I know it's an out because Francisco Lindor is right there. And McNeil definitely took a giant leap forward. So did Nemo. But I think he just has this reputation, and it hasn't gone away. And I think that's a big reason of how he got that massive contract in the first place.
I like where we ended up with the Keith Hernandez Award. Let's do the Tom Seaver Award.
Oh boy!
Clearly, the franchise, the pitcher. I'm going to go first, and to me, it's an easy one. It's Edwin Diaz.
Yeah.
Edwin Diaz, he's not going to win the Cy Young Award because there's too many candidates, too many innings pitched. But as far as consistency and domination on a guy that kept the New York Mets in consideration and in contention, he never once let you down. Yep. Like, the guy was just unbelievable. The best closer on the planet. You can make an argument for Class A. But there's an argument to be made for both of them. But I'm going with Edwin Diaz as my Tom Seaver Award.
Edwin Diaz blew 2 saves on the season. They both happened in the same week in May against the Cardinals and the Giants, and then after that, he was spotless for the rest of the season. We haven't seen a closer season like this since Fama in like 15 and 16. I mean, Familia was that good, and Diaz was that much better. And we had a lot of guys help out in the rotation this year. Obviously, we don't get to where we were without DeGrom, Scherzer, and Bassett. But I just think Walker, Cookie, T-Will, they all deserve love. But Diaz was the most irreplaceable pitcher on this roster because he is the best closer in baseball in my definitive opinion. And he also gets my Tom Seaver Award because I haven't seen a season like Edwin Diaz's season in my life. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, we got an awesome season last year from Aaron Loop.
Yep.
Better ERA season than that. But no, this was pure dominance. This was secure. There was never, those 2 blown saves, whatever. Every time he took the ball, you're just like, thank God the game's over.
Do you remember how good Aaron Loop's ERA was in 2021?
Yeah, they didn't give him the best because he made a start and they didn't count that as like reliever ERA, but that's unbelievable.
0.95 ERA for Aaron
But
Loop.
To me, Edwin Diaz's season was better than that season.
I agree. Definitely so.
Cool.
We only got 2 left here.
Let's do it.
The big boys. Now we got the David Wright Award, which goes to your best position player on the season. 4 big ones stand out to me here. You got Alonso.
Easy 4.
RBI leader, Francisco Lindor, definitely going to get some MVP votes. Jeff McNeil, the batting title winner, and Brandon Nemo with a nice 130 OPS plus, 800 OPS, and solid center field play. This is a tough one. This is a tough one for me.
This is a tough one for me too. McNeil, as good as he was, as great as he's been, he's not in it for me.
Okay.
Same with Brandon Nemo. To me, this is a 2-man race of Pete Alonso and Francisco Lindor. They both played in 161 games. They both bring everything to the table. Pete Alonso hit 40 home runs and had an amazing year driving in runs, 131 RBI. He had an OPS plus of 146. That's amazing. That's an amazing offensive year. And then on the other end of that, you have Francisco Lindor, who hit 26 home runs, 170 RBI, both new records as a shortstop in franchise history. On top of that, he played shortstop 161 games. He didn't DH once. Isn't that amazing?
Crazy.
Not one time. And I'm having a hard time. So if you have an answer, you go ahead and pick because I'm still debating.
It is tough. It does come down to those 2. And I want to give love to Nemo and McNeil. McNeil won the batting title. Nemo had over 100 runs scored on the year. He was the guy getting driven in most of the time. But it is really these 2 guys. And I do think that I am going to give it to Pete Alonso. And it's because Alonso, I think the thing that I loved seeing from Alonso this year when he was right was that even when the count was 0-2, even when he was not slugging like he usually was, he was taking his singles. He maintained a great batting average. He was getting clutch hits pretty much every night. And another 40 home run season is really nice to see. It's something we haven't seen a lot in Mets history. There's only a handful of guys that have ever hit 40 home runs in a season, and Pete Alonso's now done it twice between now and his rookie year. I think he's going to finish top 5 in MVP voting. He led the National League in intentional walks, which should tell you everything you need to know about how other teams view him. He is a force to be reckoned with, and this is the guy that the Mets need to ensure stays a Met for a very, very long time. And I think the season turns out a lot differently without him driving in 131 runs. So he gets my David Wright Award.
Gosh.
It's tough.
I'm going Lindor.
You gotta.
His shortstop, dude.
Yep.
He's so good defensively, and he's there. I can't not give that to Lindor. I want to vote for Alonso. 40 home runs, unbelievable. Everything you said is right, but he plays first base, and although I think he's okay at first base, he's not gonna win a Gold Glove.
Right. That's the difference
fine.
for you?
He's fine there. He works hard. I like him. Lindor, in a very, very demanding position, brings it every day defensively on top of what he did offensively. I mean, every bit the value of his contract, in my opinion.
I definitely agree.
Really came into his own. And so if I'm going overall, not the best offensive season, just offensive, because obviously I think Pete Alonso ran away with that. But cumulative defense and hitting, I think I'm going, Mcneil, again, shout out to Mcneil, but I got to go Lindor over Alonso here.
Yeah, and I'm glad we split up the picks there because I was like 51-49 on my pick. It's really tough, and like if you go in terms of well-roundedness, I think Lindor maybe wins it, but It's just we haven't seen an offensive powerhouse like Pete Alonso since the days of prime Yoenis Cespedes, and I mean it's special to behold.
I mean, we don't have to pick one. It doesn't have to be the Shea Station Award, or do we need to pick one from these?
I think we can differ. I like that we differ,
All right.
But it does make our final award all the more hard because I guess it comes down to these three guys now for the Golden Apple Award, the overall MVP of the team. It's got to be between your Cy Young and your best position player. So it's got to be Diaz, Alonso, or Lindor. Is there any other way
I think McNeil's in here too.
You think
I think McNeil's in there too for his ability to bounce around, to slide up and down the lineup. These things are don't show up on a stat sheet, but they're very, very much in the heart of what a team MVP wins. This is the Golden Apple Award, the MVP for your New York Mets of the 2022 version.
So hard.
So you have the consistency of Pete Alonso at first base hitting home runs. You have the consistency of Francisco Lindor, the greatest offensive season from a shortstop on top of one of the greatest defensive seasons. He's like not quite as good as Ray Ordonez maybe defensively, but the best offensive. Doesn't have the amazing stolen bases that Jose Reyes, not a batting title, but RBI and home runs. Then you got Jeff McNeil.
Yeah, man.
So Nemo didn't play enough games for me. He was great, but he played center field, didn't move off of that. McNeil's all over the place. To me, oh my God, how is it? McNeil might win this award over the best offensive player just because of his ability to bounce up and down.
Dude, I know. It's like, so I don't know how you feel about WAR. I know a lot of people have different opinions on it. Jeff McNeil finished the year with 5.7 WAR, Alonso 4.4, and then Lindor 5.4. So technically, in terms of how Baseball Reference measures, this is B WAR.
Okay.
In terms of how they measure a player's pure value, Jeff McNeil would technically be the most valuable player.
What were the numbers again?
Mets.
McNeil
was 5.7, Lindor was 5.4, Alonso was 4.4. I'm assuming most of that comes from defense, him being lower.
Okay, what is their F WAR? That's the Fangraphs version.
Let me go find that for you as well.
Let's just pull that up. Because, man, I don't know how I don't give it to Lindor, but also Alonso, because he drove in so many game-winning RBI.
So McNeil was 5.9 on F4. Lindor was 6.8 on F4. So he takes a giant leap there. And Alonso was 4.0, so he goes down even further. I'm going to go.
You go.
I'm going to give mine to Jeff McNeil. I haven't given anything to Jeff McNeil, and I think that he maybe was the most important piece of this offense this year. The overall numbers offensively on Alonso and Lindor are staggering. They're great, great numbers. But those guys also had highs and lows. And I maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I haven't looked accurately enough. I don't remember a time this season where Jeff McNeil was in a low. I think it was a steady stream of consistent offensive production, and he never had a stable position. When Guillorme was playing every day, McNeil was in the outfield. When Guillorme went down, he went back to second base. McNeil had some games at third base as well when Escobar was struggling and was injured. He fulfilled every role that he was asked to fulfill while still winning a batting title and having the same OPS plus or very, very similar to Pete Alonso in a completely different way, which I think is really interesting because Alonso was pure power, 518 slugging, and Mcneil was all about hits and getting on base, and they both pretty much ended up at the same offensive value. Mcneil's step forward was, I think, a huge turning point for this Mets lineup, and I think we expected Lindor to have a great season. We expected Alonso to have a great season. We didn't know what we were going to get with Mcneil because we saw a complete shell of himself in 2021. I even underestimated him greatly in our over-unders, and he completely shocked every Met fan out there. Won the first MLB batting title in Mets history. He will get my golden apple. Might win a gold glove, too. Might win a gold glove.
That's an amazing... He probably will win that utility gold glove.
Yep, he should.
Gosh, his ability to slide around on the in the lineup, too, is so valuable around the field, bringing the same brand no matter what. Pretty incredible.
You still seem a little stuck.
I am stuck. I'm a little stuck. I'm just looking at their splits a little bit here.
Do you guys understand the care we put into this now, guys? You're really seeing it.
I love that McNeil got it, and I am going with Francisco Lindor as my Golden Apple Award winner.
I like that.
For all the reasons why he carried this team. He's the quarterback of the defense. He tells McNeil what to do, where to be, how to be. He's shown McNeil what it takes to be good defensively. McNeil has ran away and become himself. He was invaluable to this team beyond, anything. But Lindor is and will be the foundation of this New York Mets team for another 9 years.
Yeah.
And I think if we get this level of production and value from him for 9 more years, unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean,
this guy was so good. So to me, I've already said it. I was torn because of how many game-winning RBI Alonso has had, how many moments without Alonso producing those runs, the Mets aren't capable of doing what they've done.
Yep.
But the consistency of McNeil and Lindor was there. I can't not give it to Lindor though. Yeah. His defense is all right. I don't want to go through the same thing over and over, but he is my golden apple.
Nicely done. One more round of applause to all our award winners. And a round of applause to our listeners as well. Thank you guys for tuning in to our first ever award show. I believe that's all we got. If you want to say anything else, Jerry.
No, I think that's great. Let us know what you think. Give your arguments. If you want a category, shoot us a comment or see what you guys think on those categories of things we've chosen, from improved, surprise, underrated, pour one out award, Debbie Downer, Jersey, Keith Hernandez, Tom Seaver, David Wright, Golden Apple. Let us know who you think the winners are. That would be awesome.
Love that. Yeah, and we'll be back next week to draft our favorite moments of the regular season. Really looking forward to that. Got to go back and draw up a huge list because there's a lot to go through. But yeah, guys, the off season is underway. We'll be back every week with a new episode. They'll kind of be different pretty much every time, but definitely stay tuned. We'll be kicking it with you, and let's go Mets.
Let's go Mets.
We'll see you guys
soon. Enjoy
the
playoffs. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, maybe avoid Braves Phillies, but all the other series been pretty good.
You get to watch somebody lose, so that's exciting.
That's a good way to think about it. I like that.
Positives and a negative. Double negative is a positive.
Exactly. Math.
Thank you, Jolly. Thank you, Jack.
No problem, bud.